You good? Okay, good evening and welcome to the May 18th regular city council meeting, Mount St. Helens Day. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Miller.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call the roll.
Lillquist?
Here.
Elliott?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
Palmer?
Here.
Thompson?
Here.
Okay, and we have had two members who need excused absences for health reasons, Councilmember Beauchamp and Councilmember Goodloe.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to grant excused absences to Councilmember Beauchamp and Goodloe for tonight's meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Page 27 in our packet, item 2A, we have National Public Works Week, and Councilmember Palmer will read that.
All right. National Public Service Week, rooted in service, powered by community. Whereas public work professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to the sustainability and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Ellensburg, Washington. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government, and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for these citizens, civic leaders, and the children of Ellensburg, Washington, to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works program in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, be it furthermore resolved that as the mayor of the city of Ellensburg, do hereby proclaim the week of May 27th through 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week. We urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing the quality of life for all, signed this day, 18th day of May, 2026.
Thank you. Item 2B, page 28, is National Historic Preservation Month. Be Councilmember Lillquist.
Can I just first say that Touch a Truck, Public Works is sponsoring Touch a Truck in June 17th out at Rotary Park, and it's very fun. So, okay. National Historic Preservation Month 2026, People Saving Places. Whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals and public agencies in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a people. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, managing growth and sustainable development, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas Ellensburg encourages the preservation and active use of historic structures to enhance the city's quality of life, economic vibrancy, and environmental sustainability. And whereas Ellensburg's Preservation Month, May 2025-26, honors National Historic Preservation Month at a city, state, and national level, and is co-sponsored by the Ellensburg Landmarks and Design Commission, Ellensburg Downtown Association, Kittitas County Historical Museum, and the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Now therefore, the mayor of the City of Ellensburg does hereby proclaim May 2026 as National Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of Ellensburg to join their fellow citizens across the United States of America in recognizing and participating in this special observance. Signed this 18th day of May 2026.
Thank you. Item 3A goes hand in hand. We have some historic preservation awards.
All right. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Chase Peterson, Associate Planner with Community Development, here tonight presenting on the 2026 Historic Preservation Awards, which were held earlier this month. So 2026 marks an exciting year for historic preservation within the city of Ellensburg. This is the 25th year of being recognized by the state as a certified local government. The city of Ellensburg was selected to host the Places Conference in October. This event helps educate attendees about historic preservation topics. It showcases our historic districts, as well as provides a significant economic benefit to our hotels, restaurants, and downtown businesses. Additionally, in collaboration with the Kittitas County Historical Museum, our History Quest scavenger hunt started on May 1st, and it runs through the 31st. Participants have an opportunity to learn about our historic downtown structures and potentially win a prize should they complete the scavenger hunt. So to the awards themselves. The Landmarks and Design Commission gave this year's Commercial Restoration Award to the Oddfellows building. The Oddfellows have undertaken many thoughtful improvements, including a bathroom remodel, some accessibility improvements, as well as facade repair. They were very excited to host a tour this year to show off some of the work that they've done at the end of the award ceremony. For the residential award, the Landmarks and Design Commission presented the award to 907 North C Street, which is owned by Kathy Staylock. Kathy recently went through great effort to research and install alternative modern windows, which complemented the historic character of the home. She was very excited when I gave her a call to let her know about that she was a winner. It's always nice to be able to make those phone calls. So each year, the community has an opportunity to nominate their favorite structures. The intention of this award is to learn what buildings, landmarks, and other projects that the community values. These are the three structures which were nominated this year: the Ellensburg Central Square, or the Fitterers Building, the Kleinberg Building, and the Johnston and Williams Funeral Home. So voting occurred for this community selected award in April, and the Johnston and Williams Funeral Home was selected by the community as to receive this award. Given the thoughtful stewardship of this nearly 100-year-old structure, it's no surprise that the community wanted to honor this great piece of Ellensburg history. And finally, we have the Commission Award. Each year, the Landmark and Design Commission recognizes individuals, properties, or special projects that reflect historic preservation and stewardship within our community. The LDC was honored to recognize Dorothy Stanley as this year's award recipient. She's been a dedicated preservationist in Ellensburg and works hard to educate neighbors, property owners, and community members about the importance of long-term stewardship as opposed to short-term fixes. And here we have our award recipients with their awards here. That's a wrap on the 2026 award ceremony. Looking forward to continuing this work in 2027.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
would you like to invite folks to stand up, any of the winners, if they're in the audience?
Absolutely. If any of the winners are in, there we go. Thank you. Before we move to approval of the agenda, is there anybody on council or in the audience who wishes to move an item off of consent agenda to the regular agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll take motions for approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion?
I would like to make a recommendation that we move item 11A down to 11C and move 11B and C up. Seems like we have a room full of people who don't necessarily want to sit through the first quarter financial status investment report before we get to their items of interest.
I was really, you said that out loud.
I'm sorry.
Jerica heard that. She heard that.
I need a second. For the
For the amendment.
For the amendment? I'll second the amendment.
So a motion second to move item 11A to 11C and correspondingly B and C up to A and B. This is under new business. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye opposed. That motion passes. We have an amended agenda that we're voting on now. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye opposed. That motion passes. So we move to item 6A, page 58, or excuse me, 6A, which is Kittitas County Alano Club introduction.
Well, we didn't get consent.
We'll do consent agenda first.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of consent agenda.
Second.
Motion second to approve consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I too will vote aye opposed. That motion passes. Now we're to 6A, Kittitas County Alano Club.
Good evening. My name is Theo Denner, and I am the president of the Kittitas County Alano Club Board, known as KCAC. I'm here to share with you who we are and what we do. We've kind of been doing what we've been doing for a year and kind of trying to introduce ourselves to the community. The Kittitas County Alano Club provides a clean, safe, and welcoming environment for individuals affected by substance use disorder. The KCAC building has long served the community, located off 3rd Avenue between Main Street and Water Street. It was previously owned by the local 330 Union of the Washington Federation of State Employees. It was leased at a low cost to community-based organizations for over 40 years, including 2 decades dedicated to sober support meetings. When the building was put up for sale in 2024, community members in long-term recovery formed the Kittitas County Alano Club as a 501c3 nonprofit to purchase and preserve this vital space. In a powerful demonstration of commitment, individuals in recovery contributed $25,000 of their own funds towards the down payment, ensuring continued access to a recovery hub located in downtown Ellensburg. For more than a year, KCAC has sustained operations entirely through grassroots community support. Our mission is to sustain a centrally located recovery space where people can build meaningful connections and lasting recovery. KCAC offers diverse sober support through peer-led groups, mostly 12-step fellowships, social events, and conferences. Approximately 25% of those we serve are justice involved, referred through attorneys, courts, including therapeutic courts, community supervision, and treatment providers. KCAC welcomes individuals of all ages and backgrounds who are seeking free peer-to-peer support and sober community connections. A strong young people's group offering meetings, activities, and education tailored to younger individuals in recovery is also going strong. It started about 6 months ago. Kittitas County has a long-standing and vibrant recovery community, and KCAC plays a central role in sustaining it. Within our building, 3 or more sober support meetings are held every day of the year, with an average attendance of approximately 25 participants. In total, the space facilitates an estimated 2,000 recovery interactions every month. In addition to daily meetings, KCAC hosts monthly events that celebrate recovery milestones and foster connections through holidays, memorials, and community gatherings. We also provide workshops and conferences that support ongoing learning and personal growth in recovery. For many participants, KCAC has become the facilitator of long-term friendships and chosen family, a place of belonging, mutual support, and shared responsibility. The Kittitas County Alano Club is governed by a 9-member board of directors composed of individuals with diverse professional and lived experience. This includes experience in behavioral health, treatment courts, business management, construction, facilities maintenance, finance, community organization, and are all people of long-term recovery. This helps us to approach decision-making collaboratively and strategically, ensuring that both program-related and facility-related needs are thoughtfully addressed. Some of the board members are here tonight. If they'd like to stand up, got one behind me here, 3 here, and then 4 that couldn't make it. The Kittitas County Alano Club is available 365 days a year. Currently, there are approximately 175 hours a month in structured recovery meetings and events. Additionally, there are also events for all major holidays, and the KCAC hosts many other social activities. There are yearly workshops and committees that meet. The KCAC is also used by members to meet with people they sponsor in personal one-on-one small group peer support gatherings, all at no cost to the community. So we were just trying to get out, introduce ourselves to the county commissioners and the city council, let you know that we are there. Because we facilitate for anonymous groups, we're somewhat anonymous. But the board is not, and in running the building, we're not anonymous. So if there's any questions or concerns or thoughts.
Thank you for the work that you do in the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody in the audience? Yeah, we will give you a clap, but anybody in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. All right, we're going to move to public comment on non-agenda items. So these are 3 minutes per person. They are limited to subjects over which the city council has control and concern city business. If you choose to speak, please do not mention any ballot measure or candidates for public office. Traditionally, we do not react to the comments that were made because these items aren't on the agenda. And if you see your item on the agenda later, then that's when you'll be given an opportunity to speak. And the agenda has public comment opportunity marked on virtually all of the ones where that's available to you. Nobody signed up. Nobody signed up. That's a record. Okay. Okay, business requiring public hearings. I got a script. So purpose of this legislative hearing is for the city council to consider second reading of ordinance 4985, which would approve DNN Developments LLC annexation petition for parcel 631033 with a light industrial zoning designation. The public hearing is now open, and we ask for your cooperation in the following procedure. Everyone will be given an opportunity to be heard. The city clerk is recording the proceedings. We'll first recognize requests to testify from anybody attending this hearing in person, followed by persons attending remotely via Zoom or phone. And you can raise your hand on there or hit *9 on your phone. When you're invited to speak, please state your name and address, indicate whether you're speaking for yourself individually or a spokesperson for a certain group or both. Speak slowly and clearly. Only one person will be allowed to speak at a time. Any questions of staff are to be directed through council. And before we hear from the audience, is there a staff report?
There is. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, council.
Mark, if I could get you to stand by for a second. Councilmember Thompson, I need you to mute your microphone. We're getting a lot of feedback from you. Thank you. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Drew. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, council. Mark Rudd, Associate Planner with the Community Development Department. As mentioned last month, I would be back for this matter. So this is the second public hearing and potential second reading of the ordinance for this annexation, City File P25-136. So just a quick note on this, the annexation procedures of the petition before you today was submitted under the 60% petition method pursuant to Revised Code of Washington 35A.14 and Ellensburg City Code Title 15. Under this, the applicant submits a notice of intent for council to choose to accept, revise, or reject the petition. And if accepted, the applicant then circulates a petition that must be signed by a minimum of 60% of the owners of the subject area proposed for the annexation. That petition gets submitted to the city, to staff, which we then forward to the county assessor to certify that it's all true and accurate and that it has been signed by a sufficient number of property owners. After that's all said and done, we schedule public hearings. Under our local ordinance, the Planning Commission makes recommendation to this council after they hold a public hearing on the matter. And then council, if they choose to approve, adopts an ordinance after multiple public hearings, the second of which we are here for tonight. Where an ordinance adopts concurrent zoning with a proposed annexation, a minimum of 30 days must be held between the council hearings adopting the ordinance. So last time we were here was in early April, and now we're back. Previous actions, just to get the dates on them, council unanimously moved to accept the petition on December 15th. That petition was ultimately received complete to staff on January 28th of this year, forwarded to the county on January 30th. We received certification from the assessor February 3rd. Noticed hearings. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the petition on March 26th, and City Council held their first public hearing and unanimously approved conducting first reading of the implementing ordinance 4985 back earlier last month. Just a quick reminder for you guys, this is the 7.86 acre parcel that's just toward the edge of the northwest area of town. It's immediately contiguous to the south and east to a parcel that's already in city limits under common ownership with the subject parcel, and it is in the Ellensburg urban growth area. Future land use designation in the comprehensive plan designates this parcel as light industrial. The only eligible zoning designation in the future land use zoning implementation table in the comprehensive plan is the light industrial zoning designation for that, the IL zone. So with that, the petition was submitted and council approved as part of their acceptance of the petition for that zoning upon approval. For public notice and comment, the city issued a combined notice of public hearings for both the Planning Commission and for City Council in early March. That was with daily record publication, 300-foot buffer mailers, and on-site notice boards, minimum of 3 required for these annexations. We have received no written comments from the public to date for any part of this petition, and received no public testimony at the City Council December 15 meeting, the Planning Commission meeting on March 26, or Council's first public hearing and ordinance reading on April 6. With all that, staff's recommendation is that City Council move to approve the annexation petition and perform the second reading of Ordinance 4985, which would annex parcel 631033 with a light industrial zoning designation. And that's all that I have. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
We'll do questions in a few minutes. Do the applicants or applicants' representatives have any testimony they'd like to present? The floor is out now open for your testimony from the public. Anybody interested? You've had 5 minutes if you did. Okay. Staff, I assume you don't have anything to add?
We do not.
And neither do the applicants. Council, do you have any questions of staff, the applicants, or public?
I do not.
Everybody's indicating no. Public testimony portion of this hearing is now closed. Council may begin its discussion and deliberation in this matter.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve the DNN Development LLC annexation petition and perform second reading and adoption of ordinance 4985 annexing parcel 631033 with light industrial zoning designation.
Second. Motion second to approve the DNN Development petition, perform second reading of ordinance 4985, which annexes parcel 631033 into the city with a light industrial zoning designation. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Milquist,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Palmer,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington, annexing parcel 631033 to the City of Ellensburg, Washington, assigning light industrial zoning to the parcel, providing for the proportional assumption of existing city indebtedness, and fixing a time when the same shall be effective.
Item 9A, page 93, is second reading and adoption of ordinance 4984, which would amend the city code chapter 8.54150, and that concerns residential parking zones, and there will be an opportunity for public comment.
Good evening. I'm Cameron Clayson with the Ellensburg Police Department. This ordinance makes an update to the residential parking zone code. It addresses misuse of RPZ permits by clarifying that permits are intended only for visits at a residence or business within the specific zone that the permit was issued. The ordinance also makes that misuse unlawful, including use of an RPZ permit for parking associated with attending or working on the CW campus. The goal is to preserve parking availability in our neighborhoods and improve fairness for residents and provide clearer standards for enforcement. This change does not alter penalties or permit expiration dates. Staff will also include an education and outreach period during implementation. There's no fiscal impact and no budget adjustment tied to this ordinance. The requested action tonight is to conduct a second reading and adopt ordinance number 4984. Available for any questions.
Council, questions of staff? Hearing none, is everybody in the audience who wishes to speak? Okay, I need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to conduct second reading and adoption of ordinance 4984, amending Ellensburg City Code, Chapter 8.54.150 regarding residential parking zones.
Second.
Motion second for second reading and adoption of ordinance 4984, which amends the city code, chapter 8.54150, affecting residential parking zones. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Lilquist,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Palmer,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington relating to residential parking zones and amending Section 8.54.150 of the Ellensburg City Code.
Okay, we move to item 9B, which is page 106 in the packet. This is ordinance 4987, first reading, which would amend the 2025-2026 biennial budget. There will be an opportunity for public comment, and you do have to sit through some finance stuff, just saying.
Which is why everyone is here. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Keith Bassett from the city's finance department. This routine budget ordinance has been prepared to amend the 2025-2026 biennial budget to reflect changes in operational requirements and adjustments to capital project plans to reflect what we know now that we did not know before preparation and adoption of the mid-biennial review at the end of last year. This includes carry forward of unspent project funds from 2025 into 2026 and items subsequently approved by council with necessary budget adjustments. As you know, this body regularly approves additional budget adjustments as part of its review and approval of contracts and purchases, and you have been busy this year. It's my pleasure to step back from the podium and turn the balance of the staff report over to Emily for additional explanation of the contents of the supplemental budget ordinance.
Good evening. I'm Emily Del Preti, also with the, a lot shorter than Keith is. I'm Emily Del Preti with the finance department. So I'm going to go a little more into the finance stuff. So this is going to be the fourth 25-26 budget amendment. Since the prior supplemental budget was adopted, approximately 27 items have been approved by City Council that require supplemental budget adjustments in order to be implemented. The anticipated budget impacts are presented as part of the city's standard agenda reports that accompany the initial request. The proposed ordinance will officially authorize expenditures in support of program changes that have come before council since the approval of the mid-biennial review. Do you want me to go into reading the list of items? It's kind of lengthy.
No.
Okay.
We have it in front of us.
So on page 107, there's some additional items. As Keith mentioned, there's carry forwards of 2025 actual ending fund balance and unspent budget into 2026. The personnel analysis true-up to 2025 actuals to reflect changes in personnel, accurate coding of personnel costs on the account level, and to reflect changes to tax and other benefit rates. Cleanup of some of the budgeted utility expenditures to be in line with actual expenditures. There's some account code corrections per bars that did not have any financial impact. Purchase of receptacle bins for downtown Ellensburg. Recognize a donation of estate proceeds to the Ellensburg Animal Shelter. Increased budget for the ERP and EAM projects using funds previously set aside for the projects. CCA compliance increase, increased developer revenue, development of the decarbonization roadmap and related planning activities, transit retail sales tax, and recognize increased voter registration costs. So detailed figures for each item by fund are included in Table 1 on page 108, and a summary of all items by fund are identified in Table 2 on page 117. So the financial impact, this is going to increase beginning budgeted fund balance by $26.01 million. That just shows that we saved from our previous adopted budget. Increases total budgeted 2026 revenue by approximately $8.47 million, and increases total budgeted 2026 expenditures by approximately $17.74 million. This increases the total anticipated 2026 ending fund balances by approximately $16.74 million. And while these amendments seem really large compared to other ones, it's kind of in line with the ending budgeted amounts from the previous year. And the proposed amendments maintain anticipated 2025 and 2026 ending fund balances within required fund balance thresholds. Right. So staff recommends conducting first reading of ordinance 4987, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council, questions for staff?
Either? Is that a
Anybody?
question for me? Oh, okay.
Anybody in the audience? Okay, thank you. Council, need a motion?
I'll move to conduct first reading of ordinance 4987, amending the 2025-26 biennial budget.
Second.
Motion second to conduct first reading of ordinance 4987, which would amend the 2025-2026 biennial budget. Any discussion?
I just would thank staff for the work that goes into this. I know you went through it so smoothly, but there's a lot in there. And I think it's also for the public that might be looking for some night reading to fall asleep. The paragraph that you go through the detail of the things we've actually, the adjustments, the things that we've actually accomplished, I think are significant when people ask, what does the city really do? I think that's a really, it's a densely packed story.
Yes.
So well done to detail that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington, amending the 2025-2026 biennial budget with the City of Ellensburg, Washington, as set forth in ordinance number 4950 to adjust appropriations in the city's funds.
Okay, item 9C, page 122. This is ordinance 4988, which would be first reading for water and sewer utility rates and plant investment fees for the years 2026 through 2028. There will be an opportunity for public comment.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Ryan Liskey, Public Works Director, again. As you're aware, back in October of 2022, Council adopted a 3-year water and sewer. There was other rates involved, but water and sewer were involved in those as well, where increases were implemented in 2023, 24, and 2025. Wanted to point out this year there has been no rate increase in 2026 to date. Also, on June 17th of 2024, the council adopted the last City of Ellensburg water system plan. And then at your last meeting on May 4th of 2026, the new sewer system plan was adopted at that meeting. Both of those plans include maintenance and large capital, primarily in sewer, capital improvement programs to maintain the sustainability of those utilities. The water and sewer utilities are enterprise funds, meaning that each of these utilities must fund their own operations, and so they are self-supporting. Just wanted to point that out. The city did contract with the FCS group last fall. You heard a presentation earlier during the study session at 6 from the FCS group on their findings of a revenue analysis for both the water and sewer utility, as well as they did a plant investment fee calculation to see where we sit on plant investment fees, which are the fees that people pay for when they purchase a water or sewer permit to access one of those utilities. The FCS group and staff also presented these findings to the Environmental Commission at their April 15th meeting and received the recommendation from the Environmental Commission to bring these rates forward to you tonight, as well as the plant investment fee increases. So with that, staff recommends council consider first reading of Ordinance 4988, which would implement 3 rate increases for water and sewer beginning on July 1st of 2026. And then on January 1st, 2027, and January 1st, 2028 for water and sewer. Also in that ordinance, the plant investment fees we talked about in the study session, we're recommending that council implement 2, like break the increase into three periods, but only implement the first 2. With the first 2, first one happening on January 1st of 2027, and the second on January 1st of 2028. With that, I'm here for questions. Sergey with FCS Group is, I believe, still online that can help answer any questions you may have. The ordinance, I mean, it's pretty well laid out. There's a very good whereas clauses that go through the beginning of the ordinance that kind of lay out a lot of the history for how we've gotten here today. And I think the ordinance is pretty easy to understand. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Sergey is also available, and I believe we have one staff member here as well.
Council, questions to staff? Hearing none, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak? These are fairly sizable adjustments. Okay. Council.
Mr. Mayor, I move to conduct first reading of proposed ordinance 4988, adjusting water and sewer rates and plant investment fees.
Second.
Motion second for first reading ordinance 4988, which will adjust water and sewer utility rates as well as plant investment fees through 2028. Any discussion?
Ryan, thank you for working with FCS on this. It's never fun making these type of commitments out there, but we have quite a bit of infrastructure to deal with, and this is the most proactive way to do that, especially with the financial climate, both at the state level and then reduce probably commitments at the federal level. So we've got to do our own self-resilience to make these improvements. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
I'll add on to that, echo those sentiments, and thank you both to staff, FCS, and the folks that have worked on this. As it's been said a number of times, as enterprise funds, these water sewer utilities have to pay their own way. So, as Councilmember Palmer mentioned, no one up here likes having to look at rate increases of this magnitude, but we know what happens if we don't cover these costs. So, again, thank you, and appreciate the work that went into it. And thank you, Sergey, for the presentation also.
I just want to add, the discussion at the Environmental Commission kind of weighed the increased rates against the plant investment fees, and kind of a recognition that those plant investment fees add to the cost of new development, but if you don't raise them, that adds to the burden of existing rate or customers. So there's a balancing act going on between who pays, the existing customers or new customers, and a recognition that it's appropriate to ask the new people coming to our community to buy into the system. So, thank you.
Yeah, and that's why we've put together a 3-year package to revisit this again.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington relating to Title IX utilities and amending sections as listed in the ordinance of the Ellensburg City Code.
Okay, our amended agenda has item 11B next. This is page 159 in the packet. This is a review of an affordable housing agreement with Habitat for Humanity on the Willow Street project.
I'll need to abstain from the next two items due to my participation on the board for Habitat.
Okay. And there will be an opportunity for public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lily Fry, Housing Program Manager. This item is the Affordable Housing Agreement developed by our outside counsel in coordination with Habitat for Humanity, Seattle, King, and Kittitas counties for the Willow Street 3-unit development. Council approved a letter of intent and directed staff to prepare this agreement at the February 2nd meeting. The attached drafts were developed based on a simplified version of the Stewart Meadows Agreement and have been reviewed by the City Attorney and Habitat's General Counsel, as well as our outside counsel. They provide for 99 years of affordability to households earning up to 60% of area median income for the 3 homes. The city will reimburse Habitat's actual expenditures for this project up to the authorized forgivable loan amount. Construction is scheduled to start later this year, with occupancy planned in 2027. Staff recommends authorizing the city manager to sign the affordable housing agreement and related attachments as presented or in substantially similar form. And I believe a couple Habitat team members are joining us remotely this evening, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions of staff or Habitat for Humanity? No. Okay, I just have a quick question. I live next door to this. It doesn't affect my thing, but can I vote? Okay. Okay. Okay, is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak? We don't have anybody online. So, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that council authorize the city manager to sign the affordable housing agreement and other related agreements as attached in substantially similar form.
Second.
We have a motion second to authorize the city manager to sign the affordable housing agreement with Habitat for Humanity and other related agreements as attached or in substantively similar form. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And Josh, you're muted, just so you know. But I saw an aye. And I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Okay, the new item 11B is 11C. This is the Catherine Cottages revised design from Habitat for Humanity. There will be an opportunity for public comment. This is page 306 in the packet.
Wonderful. I'm going to start us out. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Heidi Barron-Sternaway, City Manager. We're going to do kind of split the duties to talk through this project. We have a number of staff that will join me tonight in introducing this item. I know we have some folks from Habitat that will provide a presentation. There are slides in your packet, and they'll review those as well. And at the end, we have staff sort of bookending the presentation with some additional information. I know you've received a number of public comments and just want to help lay the groundwork for a robust discussion for this evening. So tonight, again, you'll be looking at a letter of intent for the Catherine Cottages revised design. This project actually started about 5 years ago when council said we'd like to take a look at other parcels that the city owns that might be surplus to the city's need because we have a housing affordability issue, which kicked off a review of the parcels available and initiated a process to allow for and surplus action for the parcel formerly designated to a park property for the formerly called Catherine Park. And so City Attorney Horner will talk a little bit about that surplus action, and then we'll pass it on to our Housing Manager Fry.
Good evening, Council. Chris Horner, City Attorney. As Heidi mentioned, Council conducted a public surplus of real property hearing in August of 2022. I would note that RCW 39-33015 gives the city broad authority to dispose of real property for affordable housing purposes. That is mirrored in our city code. Ellensburg City Code 2.06080 specifies that when council is considering surplusing real property, One of the factors it must consider among many is whether that property is eligible for use as affordable housing. And to surplus property, council must conduct a public hearing. That occurred on August 15, 2022. So council's decision in August was pursuant to state law and city code, so we complied with our requirements there. As Heidi mentioned, there had been many previous council discussions and decisions leading up to that point. You could go all the way back to 2016 when there was a housing needs assessment that said the city needs more affordable housing. The city's been considering property, a group of property back in 2017, and then directed staff to come back with additional property that could be used for affordable housing. And Catherine property was identified in July of 2021 as a possibility for affordable housing. July 5, 2022, council discussed again whether to surplus the Catherine property, and that decision was finally made in August of 2022 at that public hearing. I would also note that the city acquired the Catherine property in 1980. The city accepted that property and pursuant to resolution 1980-21, where the city just outright accepted the quitclaim deed from John DeMayo. The quitclaim deed from John DeMayo and his wife Catherine DeMayo didn't have any specificity on what the property was to be used for. It was just an outright quitclaim deed. But I would note that John DeMayo on July 25, 1980 wrote a letter to the mayor and city council at that time and said he was happy to donate the property to the city. He wanted that there'd be an appropriate notation indicating the donation was made on behalf of his wife Catherine DeMayo, but that it was also his preference that the city would use the property for residential construction. That was his preference, as indicated in the letter in 1980. And that is what I was going to add to the discussion, and I will turn it back to Lily.
Thank you. Lily Fry, Housing Program Manager. So after the surplus action that Chris described, in 2023, the city solicited interest in developing a cottage-style housing on the property. Habitat for Humanity, Seattle, King, and Kittitas counties proposed a cottage housing project that was reviewed and recommended by the Affordable Housing Commission at that time. Council recommended revisions to the site plan to incorporate additional parking and a fire turnaround. Subsequently, in investigating wetland characteristics on the site, a wetland biologist identified a filled irrigation ditch that was likely causing these characteristics and recommended piping the ditch to return it to its intended function. The city's Public Works Department planned the recommended work, and a contractor executed it in 2024. In 2025, the same wetland biologist conducted a series of field visits, and by the end of the growing season, identified no wetland present, which led to re-engaging Habitat for the redesign that they will present today. The revised design adds 2 parking spaces per unit, as was requested by council, and incorporates the fire engine turnaround. And Heidi will share a little bit more about the planned Vantage Highway improvements and connections to this project.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lily. There were really 4 items that were of primarily public concern when the council was looking at this project back in 2023. And as Lily mentioned, the wetland and which would affect the buildability of that parcel was addressed through subsequent studies and some irrigation work. The other item was parking and fire access, as was mentioned, are addressed in the new design. And the final was really site access. And so one of the challenges and concerns of community members and council at the time too was how do people, what sort of safe access, pedestrian access might we have to the site? In subsequent work by our staff, we actually received an STBG, and so Surface Transportation Block Grant to actually build pathways and sidewalks on both sides of Vantage Highway or University Avenue in that area. We held a public or an open house a few weeks ago looking at different models, and one of the models includes pedestrian crossing, essentially a rapid flashing, red flashing beacon that would help folks cross University. And there's some narrowing of the University Avenue Way as well, in addition to pathways and sidewalks on both sides of the street. So addressing that issue. And the only other outstanding issue that was addressed at the time, or that was brought up, was there is an easement that actually is about a 5-foot easement that goes from the parcel to Radio Road. And at the time of the discussion, council had some interest in maintaining connectivity to neighborhoods. And so that issue, I know, is still one of the concerns of the neighbors that has been expressed. So with that, I would invite, unless Lily had something to add.
Just a couple more notes on the revised design, which includes 9 cottages, all affordable to households earning up to 80% of area median income. On March 18th, the Affordable Housing Commission reviewed the revised design and recommended it to council for approval. Patrick Sullivan and Stephanie Bowman from Habitat for Humanity are with us tonight to present more about the revised site plan, along with the architect, Mark Brown. I'll turn it over to them to share a little bit more about the design, and then we'll be back with a couple more questions or additional comments before we move to your questions.
Good evening, council. Good evening, neighbors. I'm Stephanie Bowman with Habitat for Humanity. I'm the area director for Kittitas County, and I am pleased to be here tonight to share this again with you with the revisions that we've worked on for the last couple of years, and we're just excited to be able to possibly move forward. Tonight, we will walk you through the Catherine Cottages proposal, explain Habitat's home ownership model, and share how this project is intended to create long-term affordable home ownership opportunities to families in Ellensburg. As many of you know, Habitat's mission is to build strength, stability, and self-reliance through shelter. Our focus is not simply on building homes, but on creating permanently affordable, home-occupied communities that remain stable and accessible for generations. Our model is designed to move families from housing instability to permanent affordable homeownership. Habitat homeowners qualify for mortgages, complete financial education requirements, and contribute sweat equity into construction of their own homes and sometimes even their neighbors. One of the unique aspects of Habitat's model is permanent affordability. Habitat homes are sold to households earning under 80% AMI, area and median income, and appreciation is limited to help preserve affordability for future generations. When homeowners decide to sell, Habitat has the first right of refusal to purchase that back, and in fact, in our land trust model that we now have, we retain ownership of the land, so we purchase the homes back. And this allows for us to be able to support homeowners on their next steps if they choose to go up and out of the Habitat home and onto the open market. As an organization, Habitat Seattle, King, and Kittitas Counties was founded in 1986, and tomorrow is actually our 40th anniversary. Since then, we have founded more than 458 homes. We've built more than 458 homes in the last 40 years. We've served over 1,700 people in those families. In 2025, we built 38 homes. In 2026, we'll be closing in on 67 homes, and we're hoping in 2027 to make that 76 homes. We continue to expand our capacity and impact across the region, including projects here in Kittitas County. These are some images of our Stewart Meadows, which is almost in completion. We're very excited that this fall we will be celebrating all 18 homes and families in this development. And then going forward, actually on June 4th is our groundbreaking event for Willow Street Homes, which is if you can see in that picture, we have an AI rendering of what the 3 homes will look like. And then on the vacant land there is our Cleellum property, which is called Floral. And we're hoping to move forward with that in 2027. That includes, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to go back here for just a second to show you a piece. As you can see on the Stewart Meadows, it might be hard for our community to see, but you can see quite a bit of hardscape there. That includes thoughtful decision-making around our landscaping and our infrastructure and maintenance expectations. While large shared green spaces can appear attractive, and initially, they also create a long-term irrigation, landscaping, and maintenance cost that ultimately falls on our homeowners. Keeping maintenance costs manageable is important for first-time homeowners so that they're able to preserve the affordability and the housing stability that they just attained. Our approach is to balance aesthetics, functionality, environmental responsibility, and affordability by creating manageable outdoor spaces that homeowners can maintain, personalize, and improve over time in the ways that fits their needs and their resources. And before I turn it over to Patrick, I just wanted to address our community and let you know that I am happy, interested, and willing to set a community time to talk with all of your future concerns in the next couple of months, and so we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. And with that, I'll send it over to Patrick.
All right. Mr. Mayor and Council, thanks for having us. Thanks to the community, too. I'm Patrick Sullivan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer with Habitat in Seattle and King and Kittitas County. And the moment we've all been waiting for, our new Catherine Cottages proposal. So I'm really excited to be here. I was here, I think it was 23, when we presented our first option. We took our first swing, and we got a lot of good feedback from the community, and we took it all to heart, and we redesigned what we propose at this site. So I will flip to the next slide, but I want to touch on a few of the key things that were already brought up by a few of the city members. Parking was a big issue. We originally had proposed, I believe, 1 stall per home. We have come back with 2 stalls per home. We know that parking is a really vital part of the community, and we want to respect that. We've also connected the community north. It's north on the site plan. I realize there's been some feedback on that. We're more than amenable to talk about that. I don't think that's something that has a huge impact on the community itself, our part of that community. And a buffer between the existing neighborhood and the cottage housing code. So this is what we're proposing. On the left-hand side of the plan, we have 5 cottages. They are 2 bedrooms. They're about 900 square feet. So we know in Ellensburg, the average household size is a little bit on the smaller side, so we wanted to ensure that we had product available for smaller households, hence the 2 bedrooms. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see the larger cottages. There are 4 of them. They have 2 tuck-under parking spots, and those are 3-bedroom. So they're a little bit larger, 1,500 square feet, but keep in mind that includes the garage. So the living space is about 1,200 square feet. We have a total of 18 parking stalls. You'll see a community walking path running north to south as you view this plan. That's certainly something we can talk about. And there's also the issue with the fire turnaround. So as we went through the months of working with the planning department and our architects and our team, we worked with the fire team as well in ensuring that we met the standards needed to make this a safe and long-lasting community. This is more of what I just said. It's in the packet, but it gives you more of like the really dialed-in numbers. We think this is a great location. It's awesome to hear that the city's going to be increasing the walkability and connectivity, but it's already so close to the center of town and other parts around work and accessibility. I won't belabor things that we've all kind of already said, but we aim to serve the people who really make up Ellensburg, the lifeblood of the community, people who are earning lower incomes, veterans, seniors, households with special needs, and anyone at risk of becoming homeless. Very high-level snapshot on the price. $4.9 million comes in at the total cost. Obviously, the lion's share is construction costs. I'm happy to talk about what how that breaks down, we have a really strong track record of performance with public funders. So the public funds we would bring in, Washington Housing Trust Fund, CHIP, which typically is run through either the state or Ellensburg, and then the Ellensburg Affordable Housing Subsidy. That capital stack makes up about half of what the project will cost, and the other half will be brought in by the actual buyers themselves through the mortgage. Again, high-level schedule. If we gain site control by the end of this year, we'll need about a year to go through our design process and the city approval process, and a little over a year for construction. And that is Habitat. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know who I'm turning it over to.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dan Carlson, Community Development Director, and I was going to talk just a little bit about the cottage housing design standards and our code compliance for this. So, cottage housing is one housing type that's an option that is provided by our code. It is an option that utilizes detached, small detached dwellings around a common space. It is, because the units are smaller, our code allows for each unit to count as half a unit of density towards the overall allowable density for the site. In essence, double the density of what you would get. The code does have some more kind of clear objective kind of standards, maximum square footage of 1,500 square foot, one parking spot required per unit, those kind of standards. The code also does have this, and I did provide a copy of the code on the dais tonight, but it also has some standards that are more subjective and related to design, things like a family of architectural styles or similar to, and these things are more subjective, and I think that's on purpose, so that it's by design, so that this housing type offers some flexibility for some innovative designs and creative designs. So it also has terms that aren't defined. Cluster, you'll see, gets used a lot throughout that code, and it's not defined by our code. So there's a little bit of art, a little bit of science to reviewing it, a project like this for code compliance. Under Washington state law, project vests for the regulations it's considered under at the time of building permit submitted. So at that time, that's when we'll be looking at, there will be a lot more detail to the plan than what you see. I think you heard in Habitat's presentation, a year worth of design and permitting and review to do. At the same time, we don't want to get to this point of an award letter and not know if the project's feasible. So we did meet with Habitat. We do meet with the project teams on these kind of applications. Just to look at code compliance and see if, again, it may not, the site plan that's in front of you may not meet every element of the code, but it is feasible to meet. One example, the code requires 300 square feet of common space per unit. That's not delineated on a site plan. By the time we get to building permit review, it will be. But just looking at the cottage units, they're about 900 each. So you picture about 3 of those. If there's about that much space, then we know it's feasible to meet that. There's some flexibility in the way the side setbacks are laid out. Obviously, Habitat's proposing double the parking requirement. So there are things that to provide double the parking of what is required by code. So there are those kind of things that will be worked out in the design review, but or in the during the building permit review. But we did review it and did find that it's generally consistent with those cottage housing design standards. So again, more detail will be at the building permit, and that's a little ways down the road. I'm going to turn it back over to Lily. She's going to cover the next steps in this process.
Thank you. So based on the Affordable Housing Commission's recommendation and the revised site design's responsiveness to the 2023 concerns, staff recommend authorizing the mayor to sign the letter of intent for property contribution to Habitat for Humanity, Seattle, King, and Kittitas counties, and directing staff to develop an affordable housing agreement for the transfer. The next steps would be development of that agreement, and staff and the applicant would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So we're going to start off with staff questions council questions for staff or Habitat, and then we'll get some public comment, and then we'll come back and do that again, because I'm guessing where it's going to be new questions. So based on what we've seen so far, council, do you have any questions of staff or Habitat?
I have some questions. So I guess for Habitat, so who maintains the common spaces in this design?
So there will be a formal HOA that is established at the time of the full sale of all homes. That HOA will then be responsible, like any HOA, with maintaining all of the public spaces as well as the exteriors of the buildings. So we create the HOA with really strict standards on what must be upkept and what those definitions are and what can be changed and what cannot be. And then we turn the HOA over to the homeowners. A part of the way that we maintain control is through our 99-year land lease. So Habitat will ultimately own the dirt, but all improvements in the HOA and the management will be turned over to the HOA and the community. But Habitat has the ability, if those standards are not met, to step in and enforce.
So this isn't condoized, it's HOA?
Yes.
Which is different, okay. I guess for staff, do you know the width of the easement, the walking easement that connects Catherine Park to the Radio Road?
5 feet.
5 feet, okay. Okay, I think that's it for now.
Reasonably sure that's the first time I've heard condoized.
Probably, I
Anybody
made
else?
it up.
I had a question. I was going to ask staff about the easement in terms of, how that fits in, whether it affects the agreement or whether it runs in perpetuity, whether it is timed out.
It was just an easement grant, I believe back in the 80s, 5 feet from, of easement, and I believe it runs in perpetuity and is unconnected to this property.
So, okay, so the easement would remain in place?
Correct.
Unless it's somehow eliminated? Okay, that is what I was thinking. And I guess my other question is for other staff on parking, on the code, maybe for Dan. The code that you gave us here refers to a table on the parking calculation, 1550.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, and I since it's not here, I was wondering, refresh my memory, is the parking spaces per cottage, the way it says, is it driven by square feet, or is it driven by?
It's per cottage
living
unit.
units?
It's one space per cottage unit.
So the proposal has a total of 8, so you said twice, essentially, we've got 9 units, so twice the code requirement is what you said.
Yes.
And it looks to me as though the thinking on that was the larger units, the 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom units would need more parking than a 900 square foot unit. So I guess that's really what that comes down to, right?
Yeah, what the code requirements being 1 unit or 1 parking space per unit, I think in the overall calculation, it's counting 2 per the 2-story units. I think realistically, those couldn't be used for the cottage units, so at least 5 at one per unit. At least 5 of those extra on-site parking spaces would be required by code. The other 5 are beyond what's required by code.
Okay.
One more, and then, are duplexes allowed by the cottage ordinance, the design standards?
I would say they would not be allowed as a cottage unit because it's small detached dwellings. That's the idea with that. But The zone allows cottages, the zone allows accessory dwelling units, the code allows duplexes. So you could see a combination, it doesn't preclude that, so you could see a combination of housing types that are on the same type. We just wouldn't apply the cottage standards to those. That's a part of that flexibility in the review, is looking at what the applicant's proposing.
Could I ask a question related to the duplex conversation, which isn't what's proposed here, but it's in our material? I was trying to imagine, and this is maybe a habitat question, the land stays in the land trust model regardless what you're taking. I could be completely uninformed on this, but my understanding is that when a duplex is bought or sold, it's bought by, the owner buys both halves essentially. And I don't know, can you buy half a duplex? I don't know if that's a common transaction. So the concept of a
condo
duplex.
again, yeah.
A row house, right?
Well, a condominium or something.
Hang on a sec. What's that?
Oh, I believe the proper term is condoized.
Yeah, there we go.
So
I think
there is the ability to
Now I
separate.
understand that term, so if it were condoized, I get it, but absent that,
It
in the
would be, yes,
habitat
one
model,
owner of the entire
I
structure.
was wondering if it's even a thing. Does Habitat build condos? I guess that's a question. For the west side, maybe?
Yes, you can sell a duplex or a triplex or a quad. There are lot lines that go vertical through what we're called the party walls.
Sure.
And that's how you buy the improvement. So it's
Okay.
very standard to
Okay.
sell it both with an HOA or a condo. It just depends how the
Condoized.
land is
Condoized.
condoized.
Got it, which, just to be clear, is not the proposal before us. It's just something that's been suggested. Okay.
Josh, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move to audience comments. So 3 minutes, stick to this topic, introduce yourself, whether you're representing yourself, a group, or both, resident of the city, resident of the county, or otherwise. And you'll see a little timer off in the corner there, and we'll just take people who raise their hands.
Hello, Stephen Greenfield, resident. First, I'm just going to say very quickly, because my wife's going to follow up on this. Habitat, you guys are awesome. No one would want anybody but you guys doing this project. And we hope that they are going to do this project. However, the current Habitat proposal may technically meet the definition for what comprises cottage-style housing, but it fails to deliver on its greatest possible benefits. Right now, two of the four two-story structures don't even face the 5 one-story houses. And there's no true central open space or courtyard, not in the traditional sense of cottage-style housing. We came across this quote, which we think is pretty important. Usable open space is an essential organizing principle of cottage-style housing, not an ornamental afterthought. In order to avoid dropping one entire structure and get more space to do this, one solution is to combine 2 of the 4 two-story buildings into 2 duplexes. And I had pictures of a proposed concept for that, which was beautiful, but unfortunately the city can't show it. I will post it on Ellensburg Connect on Facebook later. The good news is the property's R-L zone does permit duplexing, as the city official mentioned, and there is no official RFP we could find that prevents Habitat for doing so. Washington State's definition does not require detached buildings. I'm not going to cite the RCW, but I have it. It defines cottage housing as residential units on a lot with a common open space. Cottage-style housing is defined by the scale, orientation, and shared open space, and other things here, which I'm not going to get into. Habitat for Humanity of Snohomish County, Willow Path Cottages in Linwood, is described as Habitat as an 8-home cottage housing development made up of 4 two-bedroom duplex units and 4 standalone 3-bedroom homes. So they've done it before, they're good at doing it, and they can do it here. The residents of Ellensburg deserve a high-quality example of cottage-style housing. City Council should briefly delay the awarding of this property. Engage in one more design round to see if they can make the central open space and facing buildings work. And if basically with Habitat, with City Council's encouragement and permission, Habitat can leverage its design expertise, produce the kind of superior layout that would deliver the cottage-style affordable housing project that Ellensburg taxpayers deserve.
Thank you, Mr. Greenfield. Who would like to speak next?
I'm Marcia Rorty Greenfield, 6 Viewpoint Road in Ellensburg. First, a thank you to the city. The Gateway 2 project looks amazing. It also relieves Habitat of the cost of building the sidewalk while adding a crosswalk with extra safety features. Thank you as well for requiring 2 parking spaces per cottage. I think that's a lot more realistic. And finally, thank you for postponing this discussion of Catherine Cottages to this meeting. I know this has been a long road. Next, I truly appreciate that Habitat has stayed committed to this project. Habitat has an extraordinary mission, creating affordable housing that stays within budget while also considering the well-being of existing neighborhoods. I believe Habitat's current proposal has many strengths. However, I also believe it falls short in several important ways that still can be addressed. From my reading, 3 features are central to successful cottage communities. This has been covered some, but I'll repeat. Number 1, they include a meaningful shared green space, and perhaps that can be some other medium, that invites neighbors to gather and children to play. As one source put it, my husband used this, the courtyard is an organizing device, not an ornamental afterthought, which I really think it kind of looks like in the current proposal. Habitat's good at this. They can pull this off if anyone can. In other words, that shared space is what brings people together. The second thing is that all homes face into the courtyard. Again, this creates a really great community feel. If you add if you add porches, which I think Stuart Meadows has, then you've got people who can come out, look at the open space, be shaded, greet their neighbors, watch kids play, whatever they want to do. Okay, so I recognize it's difficult for both the city and Habitat to consider another design iteration. However, I strongly believe that it is worth doing. The alternative design that Stephen handed out to the city and spoke about demonstrates that it is possible to preserve the hallmark features.
Ms. Greenfield, if you could wrap it up, your 3 minutes is up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that all ready?
Yep.
Holy moly. Okay. I hope it would be a shame not to realize the original vision that you all had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Time flies.
Who'd like to go next? Just, well, you're stepping up there. Mr. Toomey, I do have you down for online, and I'll get you next, okay?
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Henry Johnston, wearing my other business owner hat in town as minority partner in Ellensburg Radio Broadcasting LLC, licensee of KXLE 1240 AM and 95.3 FM. For nearly 80 years, KXLE AM has operated from the property at 1311 Vantage Highway. This is not simply a tower site, but a federally licensed communications facility that has served Ellensburg and the Kittitas Valley since 1946. Part of what makes an AM station function is an extensive underground ground radial system made up of copper wires buried beneath and around the property on which the tower is located. Portions of that system extend into what is commonly known as Catherine Park. Now, we understand that the horses have largely left the barn on this proposal. We're not here claiming superior rights over adjacent property, nor are we asking the city to stop this development. We know that Ellensburg needs affordable housing, but what we are asking is reasonable coordination and protection of existing broadcast infrastructure. Specifically, we're asking that the finalized agreement that the city may sign with Habitat would require them to take all reasonable and responsible steps during the development of this property to coordinate with KXLE to avoid damage to the AM ground system that extends into Catherine Park. Unfortunately, this is not a theoretical concern. During the wetland study and remediation work conducted in that area a couple of years ago, significant damage was caused to portions of our ground system. Repairs were made. They weren't quite done right because we didn't do them. We didn't have broadcast engineers do them. And they still are creating operational challenges for our AM station today. In that regard, we are a federally licensed communication facility, and I think it is important to recognize how close Ellensburg was to losing KXLE AM. It was only by the grace of God and a young buck business partner in this operation that we still have an AM station. We just signed a lease with the Ellensburg Rodeo, who now owns the property at 1311 Vantage, to keep the AM signal operating from that site for at least the next 5 years. AM radio is not profitable in a grand scheme of things. So if our ground system gets whacked, if something blows up our transmitter, that's it. That's the ball game for the AM station. So I'm doing everything I can to keep our AM on the air, but we need to be coordinated and responsible with any development that's happening. And we're only talking about going into that Catherine Park property 20 or so feet. Like it's not a lot, but the wrong cutting of the wrong wire can cause significant damage to our equipment and to our signal. So all we're asking is the city include responsible planning, reasonable coordination, and recognition that we have an AM station that has served Ellensburg for generations, and that needs to be preserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Seat next.
Good evening. I'm Liz Scully. I'm at 1304 East Radio Road. So good evening, council members. Over the past week, I've spent many hours speaking directly with over 20 neighbors in the Radio Hill area and collecting feedback about the Catherine Cottages project. One thing that became very clear throughout those conversations is that most residents are not opposed to community connectivity or affordable housing. Many people genuinely appreciate the idea of neighborhood children being able to safely walk to visit friends and maintain a sense of connection between neighborhoods. The concerns I continue to hear most often centered around parking, traffic safety, and the easement itself, and whether the current design truly fits the space available. The first concern I'd like to talk about is traffic flow and safety. Radio Road currently functions as a residential street and not a high-capacity access road. If parking occurs on both sides of the street, traffic could quickly narrow to a single lane, creating visibility issues, congestion, and possible delays, even for emergency vehicles. Many residents worried that this could become unsafe for drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists, and especially neighborhood children. Another major concern is the easement itself becoming the primary access point for overflow parking, such as guests and extra vehicles, as well as foot traffic into the development, as currently there are only 2 parking spaces per dwelling. Increased activity so close to neighboring homes may create nighttime noise, reduce privacy, and change the quiet residential character of the area. For my own family, this issue feels especially personal. The easement sits only a few feet away from my 4-year-old daughter's bedroom window. As a parent, it's unsettling to think about a public walkway being used day and night directly beside where my little girl sleeps. We understand the importance of community access and affordable housing, but it's difficult not to worry about increased activity, noise, and the loss of privacy that nearby families may experience. One neighbor also raised a very valid concern regarding ADA accessibility and whether the easement route would realistically and safely serve individuals with mobility limitations year-round. Neighbors also expressed concern that the current layout may not fully reflect the cottage-style housing vision, as we've heard this evening, that's been described. Several residents felt that slightly reducing the density could create room for more parking, landscaping buffers, and meaningful shared green space that would better serve both future residents and the surrounding neighborhood on Radio Hill. I think there's room for compromise here. Pedestrian access may still be beneficial and worth preserving, but overflow parking should not become the responsibility of existing neighborhood streets. Some residents have also expressed that closing the easement may ultimately be the most practical long-term solution.
Ms. Scully, if you can go ahead and finish up here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Even so, I believe City Council could still explore other ways to maintain community connection and pedestrian accessibility without placing the full impact on nearby residential streets. At the end of the day, I believe most residents simply want a solution that balances community connection with safety, livability, accessibility, and respect for the people who already call this neighborhood home. Thank you for your willingness to hear and consider the voices of the Radio Hill community. I would like to provide you with a packet that I know was sent to you, but I just like to provide it in hard copy.
Who would like to go next? Okay, we have one person online. Let's go and bring him on. Is that Mr. Toomey? I think you're unmuted, Mr. Toomey.
You can unmute yourself to talk now if you'd like.
Hello, this is Rick Toomey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think most of my questions that I had coming into this meeting were addressed earlier. They were primarily about the parking, and you've met your internal standards for that. I'm consistent and okay with that. I do mirror Liz's concern with regards to the easement on there and the overflow parking situation. So nothing new to add there. And that's my piece.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm on Chamath 1002. My name is Jennifer Chuang. I did not prepare a speech in advance, so I'm really unprepared for this, sorry. I just wanted to kind of reiterate some of the concerns about the easement. There's a lot of young children in the neighborhood, and they ride bikes, they walk, they play in the streets. It is known to be a very safe space for children. That being said, when we do have parking on both sides of the road, it is very narrow. That might sound not that big of a deal in most cases, but if you look at a map where that easement would feed into Radio Hill, there is a 90-degree turn in the road that would cause a blind spot for oncoming traffic that could possibly harm children. We do acknowledge that the city is making new sidewalks and things like that. That would also help with the accessibility for that neighborhood into other areas. So I just wanted to reiterate that I would hope that that easement would be closed so that any overflow parking, even if there is a double space kind of the requirement, wouldn't hit our neighborhood because of the safety of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Dale McPherson, 1306 Radio Road. That easement goes between Liz and I. I built that house 40 years ago. There was one fence between me and that property. The city came in and put in a second fence. They took it away from Mrs. Hall, my neighbor at the time. And they put in privacy slats, and the city took care of the weeds in the walkway for 4 or 5 years. And then it just stopped. They quit taking care of it. At that time, we came to a city council meeting and we asked that slats be put in our chain link fence so we could have the same privacy and security that Mrs. Hall got when they put in the fence there. 40 years later, it never happened, even though we were told it would. So my concerns, my wife and myself, privacy and concern of people going up and down that path. And who's going to maintain it? It's full of weeds now. I mean, it's full of weeds. It's city property and it's full of weeds. Who's going to take care of that path? And it's not flat, it's not ADA usable. Who's going to develop it? Or will you? And the other thing is, Liz and my houses are the first houses. We're the closest to the easement. So if somebody's going to park, they're going to park in front of our houses. Not 2 blocks down, right there. So we're going to be the most affected by the parking thing. It would be my hope, and I think intelligent thing to do would just be fence it off, be done with it. Give the land back to, give that 3 foot back to Liz. That's what I got a little time. I was born in Ellensburg 74 years ago. Both my parents were born here. My grandparents came here as pioneers. I've watched this city grow and change. I've seen a lot. And it's not all good. Thank you.
Who else would like to speak? Okay. Yes.
Hi, my name's Carissa McNabb. I also live on Chamath. I also didn't prepare anything. I also have the concern of extra traffic on Chamath. My boys do play outside. I mean, they have a bunch of supervision, but you know, cars go fast and we do live right on that 90-degree corner. So I do even now have concerns on how people drive. I'm born and raised in Kittitas County. I'm a 4th generation of Cle Elum, and we recently moved to Ellensburg. I just worry that new people that move in might not have the same respect for people that have lived here a long time do. Me and my husband chose a very older community because we liked how quiet it was. Sorry, I'm nervous. I'm not very good at public speaking. I want you guys to understand how like someone like me feels. My husband and I had to lose our entire house to be able to buy our new one. We had a fire over on Helena 2 years ago. So just to put every ounce of effort and time and money that we have had to, you know, build what we have now, I just hope that everybody will respect the surrounding area like we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, council. Okay.
Should be pretty quick. I am Cody McNabb of 919 Chamath Lane. The thing I want to bring up is that letter was made back in the 1800s, and you guys are trying to smash cottages together. Back when they never smashed anything together. That's the only thing I'm trying to bring up is like spread things out, put less cottages there, maybe, perhaps. You guys are trying to smash things together. It's not gonna work out. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, council. I have a couple follow-up questions, I guess.
I have some questions
Yeah.
too, so go ahead.
The status of the easement, by the way, this was made in 1980, right? The easement exists since 1980.
Correct.
Okay, so the easement is attached to the property, so whatever we do with the property, the easement goes. What are the options for the easement?
I don't have an answer off the top of my head. It's easement dedication that was between the property owner at that time and the city of Ellensburg that's unconnected to this habitat proposal. More research would need to be done on who, if anybody, uses the easement, what are our options if it's been dedicated to the public? Can we give it back to the property owner? What's the value of the easement? Can we give it back? Or would we need to sell it? And if so, what's the price? So there would need to be some factual questions and legal analysis done to present council with options. But it's standalone, that it's not connected to this habitat project.
Thank you.
One additional clarification. So the easement was part of the Margaret's Edition plat, and not actually the short plat that establishes the Catherine property. So Catherine property and the easement are not attached to one another.
Could, excuse me, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so we'll get to you in a second.
I was just going to ask if it might be possible for Lily to bring up the portion of the presentation that showed the site plan, just so we can get a visual on where the easement enters the site. Okay, that's good.
And,
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
so under the current proposal, the Catherine Park property, the Habitat's ownership ends at the property line and does not extend through the easement. So there is no one maintaining the easement under this scenario. Is that correct? The Habitat does not propose to maintain the easement and extend the path to radio.
That is correct. The only reason we had it was based on feedback our first round. But we would have no issue getting rid of the easement.
So,
Not using the easement.
could I ask maybe for staff or for clarification? So the easement is on private property, not the site. So it's an easement, but it's still privately owned land.
It's on Scully's property.
Yeah, so I don't know what the terms of the easement are in terms of maintenance responsibility. So I was trying to visualize, because I've heard both sides of the conversation for a few years now, what the real purpose of the easement is in terms of, is it to provide access, because this is new, obviously it hasn't been here before, so, and maybe it had an earlier purpose, but from the nearest adjacent street to the north, I assume the easement runs, say, north-south to the site, so it's kind of the only pedestrian path to connect this site parcel to the neighborhood, Radio Hill neighborhood. Am I pretty close on that? Is that accurate? I think it is. I just.
Hold on. Sorry. So we'll get an answer here, and then we'll ask for some input.
Yeah, so the easement does run north and south, and I can't spot the exact property line, but it runs along, it's 5 feet along the eastern property line of this property to the north of the Catherine property. That was an easement that was dedicated in 1983, and it was to the city for construction and maintenance by the city of a pedestrian walkway over and across that 5 feet.
Okay.
So that's the language.
Okay. All right, so that's my question on that. Is this a good time to ask questions, or do you want to?
No, I got a couple people in the audience. Do you have specific information that is, okay, history or legal based?
Yes.
Okay.
I pulled information from the Ellensburg Historical Society in 2023, and the information is this. The easement, after Catherine DeMaio and her husband donated that property ostensibly with no requirement for the city to do anything with it specifically, because they were told that was the only way it could be donated, there was a hope that it could be used for a park. That was a hope. At that point, Catherine was ill and was in the nursing home that is now currently KVH billing. She wanted to be able to sit in her park, and tables and park stuff was put in there, but there was no entrance. There's no way to get there. And so the easement was created so she could be wheeled in a wheelchair over and through there so she could sit in the park that she one day hoped would become a park. That was the purpose and intent of that easement. I don't know who the generous person was that actually paid or had it made, but the point is that was for the public's use, and it is no longer in the spirit of why that was created. So that's what I know from looking at the Historical Society.
Do you have anything to add? You mentioned your hand earlier. You have to go up to the podium. You have to go to the podium, sir.
If you go there and you look at it, there's no way a wheelchair is going down there because it's not flat and it's full of weeds. But I think that was the initial, you see, it was a park for a brief time. They put up a sign that said Catherine May Park, right? And they planted like 6 trees and put out 6 picnic tables. And eventually the picnic tables rotted away and the trees died because we didn't water them. And eventually we took down the sign.
Thank you.
Yes. I have a follow-up question, or a different, separate question.
Okay,
unless you
let's,
wanna-
point to who you
So
want
to
be
the
your
attorney,
answer.
I guess to the attorney, and I will admit this is the first I've heard of this. So the AM ground station that's present, the grid, which is, I'm visualizing it, but it sounds as though a portion of the copper wire, the grid, is on city property. So I guess my question is, are we aware of whether there's an easement or a lease for that land? And if the answer is no, what complications are created by transferring the ownership of property? I don't know that there's a legal right to protect that, and maybe there is through the federal license, I don't know. But I guess my question is, are we, and maybe it's for Habitat's attorneys, but I mean, are we able to transfer a piece of property that's, for lack of a better word, not legal, encumbered by development? Are they obligated to protect it in any way?
It's the first I've heard of the AM wire in the ground as well. I would also look to whether they had an easement. It's not anything I've heard of. If they don't have an easement, that would I'd turn it over to Lily.
Yeah. Sorry, we talked with KXLE at the time that we did the ditch work on the adjacent property, which was owned by the previous owners at the time, but there wasn't any way to actually find where the wires were placed to be able to avoid them during that construction. So I learned tonight that there was actually damage to them during that construction process, but as we went through that, the ditch piping, we were trying to see what we could do to avoid that, but there wasn't any kind of legal or documentation of any placement of those wires.
I guess my following question for us is the potential, the city conveying land that has something that has been testified earlier needs to be protected in some form. Would it not be appropriate for the city to recognize that, or is that just something that gets worked out through the transfer? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but it seems to me that neither the city nor Habitat would be required to protect
And
this.
there's been no recorded easement or anything. And I
Yeah.
think the commitment would be if there's a friendly agreement
Sure.
to work together to preserve and protect the
Yeah, that would be my
infrastructure. That could be
expectation,
added.
especially the 20 feet or so that was described wouldn't be.
I think we add that as a
Be added to the
condition.
letter.
So I guess everybody wants to protect it's a good interest to protect that. I guess my question is, legally, are we doing our due diligence by just saying it'll be dealt with friendly or otherwise? Probably. So then I guess, okay, well, I'll stop there. It's good. I have a thought
I have a
about
couple of-
I have a thought about the easement, but we'll wait on that.
Questions?
Let's do questions first, and then we'll do suggestions.
So, in the new design for Vantage Highway, will there be parking allowed on the frontage in front of this property?
So the design, I actually have in the folder a view of the design. What happens is the street narrows and there's a middle turn lane. And so they're creating the opportunity. So no would be the answer to parking on the sides of the street.
Okay. And I know there's no one here from the rodeo board, but maybe Mr. Johnson knows, did they purchase that for the purpose of rodeo parking? Which would be my assumption.
Yes, that would be correct. That is a very key and important, that piece of property is very key and important to contestant parking during the rodeo, which was why they purchased it. And then going back just real quick on the copper ground radial system. So you have to remember John and Catherine DeMeo owned KXLE for a number of years. That's how that all came together.
I get it, okay.
When John and Catherine donated that property, regardless of what he may have written in a letter at some point, his intent, either as a park or to develop it as residential, I can safely would have been develop it, but keep the AM station on the air. So there's no easement. I already went through all of that. There's no easement. There's no anything. This is just a, hey, this cutting those wires and really disrupting that ground system really has the potential of killing our AM station.
So do you know, is there a way to locate those wires with?
When you find them.
Ground penetrating radar or?
You can use a metal detector. They're just right about at the permafrost line. So it just takes coordination when they start cutting and digging and doing anything on that side for us to.
And for clarification, both proposals, the alternate and have a driveway along, so your 20 feet extends to the driveway. It does not extend underneath any of the houses, nor
Does not appear
necessarily
to, no.
interfere with the ability to bring utilities into the property.
No, I went out there with my
It's-
rolly wheel and they're about.
It's under compacted gravel and asphalt.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta remember, this ground system was put in 80 years ago too,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah,
You have to dig. to
well,
get
it's going to be disturbed with the construction, would be my concern.
Yeah, but we
Frost
can
layers
mitigate
and
it as long as there's an understanding that we have a communications facility that serves our county and beyond that needs to be preserved. So.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff or the community?
I can direct one to staff. Lily may be the best to answer this. I'm trying to interpret the comments, so I'm not sure, I'm not directing this. This isn't a staff solve this kind of thing, but I just want to, so several times folks tonight mentioned or used the term overflow parking. Are we assuming, is it staff's assumption or understanding that when people in this context are talking about overflow parking, it's visitors to the families who are going to be living in this development? Or is there another kind of overflow that, we're not talking rodeo parking, I assume, so.
No, I don't have an answer. I mean, I don't have an answer.
So
to
the
that.
concern, if I'm understanding it, it would be that when it gets busy and there's an event, family has a birthday party or whatever, in the common space, that 20 new cars show up and they're gonna park somewhere, so they can't find a spot, so they go up on radio up behind there, and then they're gonna use the pathway to cut through. Is that kind of the concern, that could create some demand for
That sounds like
overflow?
the concern that was expressed in
Okay.
2023.
Okay.
Before, at the point that there was one parking space per unit, and now
Okay,
there are
all
two.
right. Okay, so, all right, I'll stop there.
Yeah, I guess I would like the community who expressed those concerns to answer that for me too, because I'm having a hard time picturing if I drive into Catherine Park and I can't find a parking space, going all the way around on Fenning or Brick or how you get there rather than just parking in the KXLE parking lot, you know? So, Ms. Scully, you raised that as an issue.
Yes, so that was the concern of many community members that I talked to, was the birthday parties, right? Holidays, perhaps having additional vehicles per family, you know, if you have a teenager or just, you know, families have more than 2 cars, you know, or RVs, where are they going to park those? So, I mean, is KXLE an area where overflow parking is available? Is that?
Well, and across Vantage Highway too, if there's a beacon, there's overflow rodeo parking there too. I mean, I haven't visited the site, so.
So I want to address the parking issue here because the proposal exceeds the city's requirements. Somebody mentioned that we made the requirement that there are 2 parking spots. We did not. And the parking requirements for a lot of the residential development in the city of Ellensburg do not include requirements for 2 parking spot or off-site or off-street parking for 2 parking spots. So I just want to make sure that we're, sort of being equitable. This could go in any neighborhood, and it's going to obviously have a traffic impact to it. It's obviously going to occasionally provide for, extra cars parking on the streets, which the streets are effectively in most areas, excluding the RPZ zone or where there's specific restrictions. They are first come, first served parking for everybody. And so, I would say, in any neighborhood, you have a birthday party. I hosted a big event last night. You have to figure out how we're going to park people.
Absolutely. I think it's.
And that exists in the existing neighborhood for holidays and birthday parties and those types of things already. Yes, this is potentially an addition, but I want to just be sure everybody acknowledges the fact that this parking exceeds the city's requirements, and those requirements, aren't exceeded by a lot of projects that we get. People want to put in the, 1.5 or even down to one parking spot per unit. So I just wanted to make sure that
Absolutely, and that's much appreciated. I think that the issue is the density of the units, right? That's 9 homes on 3/4 of an acre. That's a lot of potential overflow parking. You don't usually see that density of homes in an area. So the community members were just very concerned about where all of those extra cars would go. And if KXLE is an option for that overflow parking, I mean, that would be fantastic. It's right there, and it would probably be more convenient for them as well than going up to Radio Road. And in that case, if that is an option, then that would be wonderful.
Okay. New comments or?
It pertains to the parking issue.
Okay, you have to go to, yeah. We have an audience of 3, so we have to speak at the microphone.
The concern that I've had is that, well, I'm a psychologist. I look at what people actually do rather than what they should do. And there are ways to promote different types of behavior. And when this is open, the thing is that if you ever went into the place and you didn't find parking, or, for example, if it's not built for F-150s, which are common here, that's another issue. But if you don't find it once, or your friends don't, you just park on Radio Road and come on in, rather than go in, not find parking, and then go around. You have a couple experiences like that, and it changes your behavior. It's a complex issue, I know, but I just want to look at what is probable. And I do wonder with Habitat, are these spots big enough for, we've got so many of these big trucks around here. Yeah.
Can I address
So-
them?
Yeah.
So just, again,
sorry.
recognize the parking standards are the parking standards. We're
Yeah.
not making a decision based off of parking standards that exceeds our requirements. That simply won't happen. It's illegal. So they have exceeded the parking requirements. Whether or not we maintain a dedicated access to the north by footpath or not seems to be an entirely separate issue because it's not actually tied to this property.
Got it.
So, and you may have council support for figuring out what to do with 5 feet of property that we don't want to weed. So, so I think we need to work through that issue before we get too involved in any more discussion with the audience. If you have new information, again, this isn't traditionally how we do this. We don't do an interactive discussion, but if you have brand-new information to offer us that is, going to influence our decision, that's what we want to hear. Yes, sir. And if you could introduce yourself
I am Mark Brown. I'm the principal architect at Manastash Architecture Planning and Development, and we're the architects on the project. And I would just sort of following up on just talk a little bit about the code-related stuff. There's a lot of, I understand that people have a lot of opinions about how this might impact them, and I respect that. Let's see, where is that map? Can you help me, Lily? Just a couple things. We already established that the parking requirement is 1 per unit as written in the code, and we're providing 2. The second piece of that is back one more, I think. That one is the allowable density within the code. I'm not proposing that. I don't think there should be more units on here, but just so everybody understands where we are relative to the rules. The lot size is 3/4 of an acre. In that zone, the base density is 8 dwelling units per acre. That gives us 6 units, if up to a 50% bonus if they're 80% area median income, if they're affordable housing. So that gives us 9 units if they're freestanding single-family dwellings. In a cottage development, each dwelling, each housing unit counts as half a dwelling unit. So we are currently at, per code, 4.5 dwelling units, where we could, by code, have 9 if we could fit enough parking on there. So I'm not saying that's the right idea. I'm not saying that's what should happen. But what I am saying is we are trying to balance a lot. Design is never about optimizing for one thing. We're trying to balance a lot of ideas that are in tension. Affordable housing, the number of parking spots, how do we get fire trucks in and out of here? And we vetted this with the city. We vetted this with all the department heads. We studied the code. And this may not be the perfect solution for any particular one of those items, but it is a very good balance of all of those. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to make a suggestion to move through with this. It seems to me that the easement is very clearly a different conversation, and it's not on the agenda. And we can't make a decision on an item that's not on the agenda. But I would like to put it on the agenda as soon as possible, so we can figure out what to do with it. Because it doesn't seem like Habitat cares, and it seems to be a sticking point. And obviously, we have to discuss that and then vote. I would like to move forward with the agreement for the Catherine property and, a yes, no, or a modification. And again, I want to just make it clear to the audience that we sort of have a say because the city technically owns the land, so all of you own the land. But we can't require things that aren't in the code, period, end of discussion. Can't. If we do, we're likely going to get sued by a property developer and say, we presented a project and you rejected it even though your code says it's fine. So we're not, likely going to go down that road, asking for things that aren't in the code. So.
Question.
Yes.
So we're talking about the action before us is to consider signing letter of intent and directing staff to develop an affordable housing agreement. And I think I know the answer, but I just want to ask because there's a lot of open-ended conversation right now. If we were to go through the steps and establish the letter of intent and direct staff, does the refinement of the design process continue? And I assume it does, but.
Verbatim for the letter, yes, it does. And,
Okay.
and the letter, the signing of the agreement does not guarantee transfer of property.
Okay.
It says it right in the letter.
Okay, so the issues that were raised, outstanding issues, those can be refined and worked through. We're not, this proposal as presented, the agreement isn't specific to that. It is, but it doesn't bind Habitat to build it exactly that way. if it is refined. Is that fair to say, I think?
In reading this, my answer is yes, right?
You wrote it, so.
I didn't write it.
Well, you know, it's.
I'm going to sign it, maybe.
No, I think that answers my question. I think, I agree with the mayor's point, moving this forward, and I think there are a lot of really good points raised tonight, so thank everyone for coming and speaking. And I think that's, it's still very workable, so that's my thought.
Do you want something on the,
proposed action?
you want an action before I give
Yes.
my comments?
Yes.
I'll move to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of intent and direct staff to prepare an affordable housing agreement for the property transfer.
I need a second before you talk more.
Well, I want to add conditions.
You can do that after it gets moved.
Okay.
Somebody want to second it?
I know it won't be
He
the one.
He can't.
He can't, so
Josh.
it's Josh or David.
I will second, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion second to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of intent and direct staff to prepare an affordable housing agreement for the property transfer. And is there discussion or
So,
amendments?
so I agree, we're balancing, trying to balance a lot of things here. But if we go back to our original desire was to have a demonstration project for cottage housing. And I don't see how this meets 2,700 square feet of common space and the units facing each other. I would love this project if I could see that, this design that I'm seeing. If that can be worked out during the permitting process, I'm happy. But if we need to add that as a condition for, that's in the letter of intent, I would want to do that. And the other conditions I would consider is coordinating with KXLE and honoring Catherine DeMeo by naming the project after her in a visible way. Yeah, I
hang
think
on.
that's all.
Which one of those, what's that, go
Is that
ahead.
an amendment to the motion?
I guess it's a question, do we need to add that to the letter for conditions, or is that just going to happen because it's in the code that it has to have 2,700 square feet of open space? And the code, I mean, I think maybe it doesn't say it, but it implies it, that the cottages face each other. I mean, that's sort of the definition of cottage housing. But I would like to put it in as a condition if it's not implicit enough in the code.
Do you have a response to it?
I would just, I guess, to both of the items, the 2,700 square feet, what the code says is common space, so it doesn't necessarily say that that has to be an internal common space. And then nothing in the code says that the doors have to face into that. It's actually, so one of the options under the common open space requirements is other central open space with access to all units. So I think that's where the design for this came, but the code doesn't say that those doors have to face inward.
Yeah, I mean, the two units furthest east, they have access, I guess, they have a sidewalk to it, but it's not, I don't think this is a good example of cottage housing then, because I think a good example would have the units facing in and have a common courtyard. So, so I guess, yes, that's a motion that those conditions be included in the intent letter, that the units face the common area and that there's 300 square feet per unit, that we coordinate with KXLE and we honor Catherine DeMeo in the naming of the project.
Okay, so did we hear 4 things?
3.
Things. Okay.
I'm going to need to read that list again.
Is there, but if there's no second.
Well,
then-
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, we have a second to the motion that we add conditions that detail that the units face each other and that a common area of 300 square feet per area, what, be defined or centrally located?
Yeah, central common area.
That we require Habitat to coordinate with XLE and that we honor Catherine DeMeo in naming of the project in some manner. Is that explicit or just generic?
What do you mean?
Do you have a specific name or are you just saying include her name in the project?
Include the name
Okay.
in the project.
So we are talking about an amendment to the letter only. We're no longer talking about so just the amendment. Does anybody have any discussion?
And it's not part of this, and it doesn't need to be, but I would still, maybe it's.
Who seconded that?
Oh, I
David
seconded it,
did.
yeah. I was just going to say that I'm still a little bit, it lingers that we've got some buried wire under the ground that nobody ever, I mean, I understand how it's there, why it's there, but it's also sitting on city property now. Nobody ever quite got their arms around that. I think as housekeeping, I'd like to see the city kind of get that sort of, get that house in order before we hand the property off to another party to deal with it, but that's just my thought on that.
So is that an amendment to the amendment?
No, I don't know that it needs to be.
Do you want an easement?
I don't know what the proper approach would be. It's, because I don't want to get in and second guess the legal issues there, but I think it's a buyer beware situation. So,
We can follow up
Okay,
on that
okay.
separately. That's
Okay.
very, very.
all right, that's fine. I don't
Picked a
think,
good one to be out of Delano.
I don't think you need to on that.
Josh, do you have anything? This is on the amendment only and you're muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with the amendment. Here, looking at the design, one thing that kind of stuck out to me was if you're the owner of that house that's furthest to the corner towards University Way, your parking's way up there. I hope you don't have grocery bags to carry in the snow. I think I would like to see this as more of a cottage style layout with the common area. This is, in some ways an experiment and to see if this model works. I'm all for Habitat for Humanity. I think these are just things that have got to get worked out. I'm really appreciative of everybody that showed up tonight. I got a really good education on the site from everybody there. So thank you. We definitely got to protect the radio station, figure out the wires. I agree with Councilmember Miller that needs to be cleaned up before any transfer. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay, so two of you guys have mentioned a separate amendment to the amendment that Nancy wrote. Are you suggesting an amendment to hers, or do you want to handle this differently? Because right now, her amendment to this letter, or her language to this letter, doesn't address what you guys just both said.
It says coordinate with
Yeah, but
KXLE.
that, I assume what did you?
You guys are talking about.
Habitat KXLE with regard to the adjacent property, the parking, not the wire.
No. The KXLE, coordinate with KXLE about the wires under the land.
About the wires, okay, all right.
And
I
we're
think
requiring Habitat to do it.
And
That's
we
your
require-
suggestion.
The
You guys
suggestion
are
is
talking
put it in
we
the
deal.
mayor.
I think
Yeah,
we can have both, because I think one, they would ultimately be responsible for construction and not disturbing or protecting or rebuilding. I mean, that would be correct. But I still, and I don't think it needs to be part of the agreement letter. I think the city could get our property sort of in order before it's ready to hand off. That's kind of what I think legally. And maybe it's perfectly fine. But I don't think it's Habitat's responsibility to sort of get an easement in place for the city.
No.
I mean, I also don't feel
kids.
comfortable
Yeah.
with the city handing property over with an existing use that hasn't been sort of recognized legally.
Yeah.
That's all. So I'm good with the amendments.
Josh?
Yeah, I agree. I'm good with the amendments.
Okay, so we're voting on the amendments only, and then you guys will deal with the other thing later. So all those in favor of the amendments that Councilmember Lillquist suggested to the agreement letter signify by saying aye.
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 I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We have an amended letter.
Can I just, one more comment? I don't care if that common area is a plaza or a lawn, to your point about not increasing the cost for the future homeowners. Okay.
Anything else? We have an amended letter that we have a motion to authorize my signature. Is there any further discussion?
Just relative to the easement, so we're going to talk about that later, on a later agenda, what to do with the easement.
Yes, which has nothing to do with this agreement.
Right.
Legally has nothing to do with this agreement. So we're doing the agreement, we're not, and then we'll deal with the easement.
Okay.
Okay? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. I'll wait for the amended version.
Okay.
Item 11C, which is the first quarter 2026 financial status and investment report. There will be an opportunity for public comment. It's page 144 on the agenda.
Can we take a minute break? Or don't worry about it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I don't know.
Share. Here, pro tips.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
You're
Want me
going to
to wait
wow
for
us
David,
and
or can I
entertain
go?
us. What's that?
I said, do you want me to wait for David, or can I go?
No, he said go ahead and go.
Okay, so, good evening, Council, Mayor Elliott, Jerica Pasco, Finance Director for the City of Ellensburg. Beginning on page 147 of your agenda are the first quarter 2026 financial status and investment reports for the period ending March 31st of 2026. The first quarter reports were presented to the Finance Committee at the May 7th meeting. Just a few quick housekeeping items before I begin. You'll see at your dais there I have replaced Table 2. I noticed that the motor vehicle fuel tax had been inserted in the wrong row and in overinflating other revenue and under representing motor vehicle fuel tax, so I've changed that and updated there. I also would like you to keep in mind that first quarter projections are hard. There's only 3 months of look back in many of instances. Most payments and expenditures aren't quarterly or even monthly. A lot of them are annually or spread out, so it's really hard to project. So just keep that in mind when looking at these projections and representations, that it's just 1 quarter's worth. The first quarter projections were estimated based on the economic conditions on 4/14, and they indicate that the general fund revenues, excluding the managerial funds, are above budget. The general fund expenditures will remain below budget. Budgeted expenditures reflect all adjustments that were taken to council prior to the end of December in 2025, so they don't include the adjustments that you saw this evening prior to. They'll be in the next quarter after second reading. A breakdown again of general fund departments is included on table 7 of this report. So table 2 shows the year-to-date revenues remitted from the state for sales tax activity. Overall, 2026 revenue distributed through the state was up 4% over Q1 of 2025. These figures do include sales tax that will be discussed in more detail in table 4. Of significance is the affordable housing funds from the state, not the 1/10 of sales tax that we collect. Those look to be down 86%, but under some investigation, it was due to the timing of the revenue that we received. It was received late, and so those funds are underinstated. The other one of significance is the motor vehicle fuel tax. It is up 29%, or almost 20,000 over Q1 of 2025. Table 3 shows all the governmental fund tax revenues by type, and it's actual compared to budget. So overall, the governmental fund tax revenue is projected to exceed the budget by approximately $4.3 million, or 21.75%. Now, these differences will decrease after second reading of the supplemental budget that should amend.
I'm going to stop you.
Yep.
Can you have that follow your presentation?
Yes, yes, sorry about that.
We can follow it on paper here, but
Yep, I'm just
We want to be wowed by electrons.
totally got focused on
somebody's
getting through
watching.
this. It's punishment from moving me to the end of
I'm
the-
sorry.
That's okay.
Wow.
Just would have caught you sooner is all, that's all. That's okay.
So the differences here between budget to actual will decrease after second reading of the supplemental budget. We've had to amend a lot of the sales tax revenue. So the 2026 tax revenue budget numbers were prepared in 2024. So during that time, we did not yet know if the 0.2% for transit would continue, as well as we were unaware of the timing and the effects of the WinCo project on sales tax revenue. So the original budget was prepared with worst-case scenarios for tax revenue and will be updated with new budget projections in the budget amendment. Table 4 shows the retail sales tax breakdown by purpose. So overall, our sales tax is currently projected to come in about $3.4 million above the original budget, keeping in mind again that only about $2 million of that is for the unrestricted regular retail sales tax. The remaining of it is for the restricted funds, such as the 0.2 for public transit that I spoke about just in the last page that we'll have an updated budget amount. Table 5 digs further into sales tax by activity. So overall, our sales tax is up 11.52% compared to Q1 of 2025. The professional, scientific, and tech services had the highest dollar and percentage increase, and construction also had a significant increase as well. Retail trade continues to decline and is down 5.4% from Q1 of 2025. So if we removed the volatile activities, which include that professional, scientific, and tech services and construction sales tax increase, we would only be up only 4.9% over Q1 of 2025. These revenues, again, are for sales from November 25 through January of 2026. Table 6 shows year-to-date utility tax activity. Overall, we've seen an increase in over first quarter of just over 0.1%, so next to nothing. A lot of that is due to the decreases that we're seeing in water and sewer. Those are due to higher than normal PIF, or plant investment fee revenues, that were received in 2025. So that's why it looks like there's a decrease. It's not consumption, it's not rate-based. It was those PIF revenues that were received in 25. Also, gambling tax, we tend to see a decrease with economic struggles. We find late filings of gambling taxes, and that appears to be what's happening in first quarter of 2026. Gas and electric, like we know, are very rate and weather dependent, so they appear to be up due to rates, consumption of weather, and overall increase in customers. Table 7, this is the one that we really want to keep in mind, that first quarter is hard to project. Most of these cases only have 3 months of data to use in the projections, and the timing of the revenue makes it really, or the timing of the revenue and the expenditures make it really difficult to project without going line by line through our GL, which we try to do with the revenues, but don't really have time to do with the expenditures. So revenues, we're showing that we're expecting to come in over budget by about $708,000 in revenues and under budget by $1.9 million in expenditures. Now, those expenditures are just taking first quarter and applying it by 4, so there's not a whole lot of basis behind those in first quarter. Overall, one of the biggest differences you'll see here was when we created the 2026 budget, based on ending fund balance of 25 budget, we were expecting to see a beginning fund balance budget of around $7.6 million coming into 2026, and we came into 2026 with almost $10.8 million. If we continue on the projection line where we're at, we should see a slight decrease of around $391,000 in fund balance, bringing us to an ending fund balance at the end of 2026 at $10.4 million. Table 8 is our debt activities. You probably won't see any change compared to fourth quarter of 2025 on this, because our first payments for the year are interest payments that will happen on June 1st, and then the rest of our interest and principal payments will happen in November. We haven't accumulated any additional debt so far in 2026. And then Table 9 shows that the city has brought in approximately $7.6 million more than it spent through quarter one. $6.1 million of that excess revenue over expense is for the utilities and internal service funds. The general fund, including the managerial fund, actually saw a net loss of $1.26 million in first quarter. A lot of that is due to one of the managerial funds of the general fund is our sales tax reserve fund. In first quarter, we do a lot of debt transfer to the debt payment funds to make the debt payments. So that's why a lot of times you'll see a net loss for the general fund in first quarter, and it kind of evens out then more as the year goes on. So investments, the city had around $92.9 million in investments at the end of first quarter, $70 million of that being in LGIP. We earned around $220,000 in interest in the month of March and around $828,000 in interest for first quarter. I did reinvest around $4.8 million in first quarter on investments that had matured with an average yield to maturity of around 3.9%. So this should increase our overall portfolio as the previously matured investments were at a much lower rate. Staff recommends accepting the amended first quarter reports as presented. And again, as always, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff?
You guys are still here.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak? Council. Back over to 144.
I'll move to accept the first quarter 2026 financial status and investments report as presented.
Second. Motion second to accept the first quarter 2026 financial status and investment report as presented. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Nothing.
As amended.
Oh, as amended, as
As amended.
Because there's an amendment.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Presented. Oh, I'm sorry.
As amended.
My bad.
Second on the as amended.
Okay, so, yeah, we're voting on including the new table 2. Sorry about that. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I too will vote aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Item 12A, managers report.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Heidi Barron-Sturdaway, City Manager. Just a couple of items to note that are in the manager's report and a couple that are not. We're doing a ribbon cutting for the new West Ellensburg Park, 4 p.m. this Wednesday, May 20th. Very informal and very quick, so please show up. We've invited our friends from the Rotary Club. and feel free to bring your kids. And so just a quick ceremony and ribbon cutting photo, and we'll move on and go play. And then I have, on the dais is also an invitation from Comprehensive with an open house and ribbon cutting for their MMU, and that's scheduled for Thursday, beginning at 11 a.m. I strongly encourage you, if you haven't seen the mobile medical unit before, please stop by there. They'll be there from 11 to 1 this Thursday. And council is also invited in celebration of Public Works Week tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. at the shop. The mayor will be joining us for some coffee and donuts and just a quick celebration of our Public Works staff to say thank you. And the one item I have in the manager's report that I'd like just council direction on, typically in the month of June, we will release your council-funded grant programs, and we'll do that at the same time as we do the Parks Partnership Program as well. In past years, we have had applicants apply for more than one pot of money. We will manage internally, we'll keep track of folks, but if council wanted to have a policy, we could do it administratively that groups could only apply for one pot of money. Otherwise, what we will do is we will make sure that we'll document those applications as they come in, so each group is aware that the group has, each funding subcommittee is aware that the group has applied for more than one grant, and we'll keep you apprised of the status of that. So again, if there's administrative direction from council to limit applications to one per pot of money, we can do that.
I would like to see what that looks like. I don't think we should take the action. Do we have to take the action right now, or can we do it at the next meeting?
You can do it at the next meeting.
I'd agree with that.
Draft the policy, and I want to take a look at it, because I see some merit in that.
Yeah, I can just say, we last couple of cycles, and a member of the council-funded programs, we became aware that applicants had applied for other funds through other grants, but we didn't get that information. That's kind of what the manager's.
Well, and then there's this balancing who decides first, and are they going to get it, and.
Primary and secondary, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other factor is not all grant programs have the same maximum grant amounts. So there's some limitations, I think, that some grants run into, so.
Is anybody opposed to bringing this back to the next meeting with a draft?
I would appreciate that, but I would add the caveat for the same project. So if one nonprofit has two separate projects for different things, I'm okay with that. But otherwise, it gets really confusing.
Yeah, I'd like to see it too. I think it would be helpful to provide clear guidance to the applicants, though, in advance, so that's quickly coming up.
We can do that.
Thank you.
And finally, for your executive session tonight, we would ask for 15 minutes. There is no intended action after that item.
Okay. Councilmember Thompson, your report.
None today.
Councilmember Lowquist.
The Environmental Commission met a week early. We reviewed the new water conservation plan, so you'll start seeing some messaging around water conservation in June, and as well as the early draft of the comp plan chapter for the climate and environment. I will miss the Yakima Basin Fish and Wildlife Recovery Board meeting on May 27th, Delano. Hopefully you can make that.
Never come back to bite you, but it did.
He's been a good attendee.
The salmon, they know how to get back to where they're going.
I think I can make it.
I guess I also want to say, with regards to the cottage housing design standards in the code, that I would appreciate a review of some of those. I think that the part of the struggle with the design tonight was the parking has to be at the rear. It can't be on the side easements or the front easement. And in this on this particular lot, it might have made sense in the front if that was like really abutting the street and not a buffer in between it. I mean, anyway, it's kind of like, what's the front of that lot? And whether or not we would consider duplexes as a part of future cottage housing design, whether they have to be standalone, or could they be clusters of duplexes with a common courtyard or something. So, thanks.
David?
Just by way of report, attended Finance Committee, so I get to hear most of Jericho's presentation twice, so that was good. It's better the second time. It just grips you, it's great. Well, she'll hear about it. So that was good. I missed Planning Commission. I was sick last week, and I guess I'm still raspy over it. So, but on the, just to comment on Councilmember Lilquist's comment about the cottage housing. Yeah, I would agree. It's probably not a bad thing to look at and kind of look at best practices.
It's the first use of this, and.
Yeah, and my thought on that was, I, along with a couple of other people, first looked at cottage housing in Ellensburg when I was on the Planning Commission over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the hot item of the day, and it's sort of, there have been successes around the country, but it's also sort of not as widely, as popular maybe is not the right word, but I'd say, yeah, it would be fine to look at it a little bit, get a little fresher view on it. And I guess what I wanted to say, and I didn't get a chance to say during the whole discussion, is I don't want, and your point about the site being unique, I don't want the emphasis on cottage design to kill the project, right? Because I know we started out talking about this site as a potential area for cottage housing, but it was really a potential area for affordable housing, in many cases more than cottage housing. And I think you're right, it was a concept that gave us a real test bed sort of opportunity, and I hope that it's still there. But I really hope that this shift of perspective doesn't make Habitat run for the hills, you know what I mean? So I don't want that to happen.
I agree. We can
Yeah.
back off on that if
Well, I'm not
if
saying
they
we
come
should.
back and say it's, no,
Yeah,
they cannot make it happen.
Yeah, and I think it isn't incorrect to point out that the proximity from the vehicle to the front door, when they're not co-located, is a challenge. And that's why the road on one side of a center, within a parcel is a
Right.
challenge. Anyway, those things I trust will get sorted out in design coordination, so that's all I had.
Yeah, and I guess we need to be really careful about trying to create the ideal housing option, because if you go to any apartment complex, you're not parking near your apartment in most cases.
That's true.
And off-street parking is impacting the neighborhood that the apartment complex is adjacent to, because we require far less requirements for apartments. And so, that's what I mean, we just need to be sort of consistent in our application of standards, and again, messing up good in.
Perfect.
It is a unique lot in that it's fairly isolated and not really on a street.
Yeah, and we surplused it for affordable housing,
Yeah.
not for cottage housing, yes.
Right.
Delano?
Solid Waste County, we met to talk about updates to the plan. There's a new plan that's coming out. I believe it's a 4-year plan. And then affordable housing was on this topic. And then we are also making plans on how do we evaluate our budget for the next fiscal year for possible new applicants that are looking to do development here. And then Law and Justice is on Wednesday. I'll do the Yakima Basement on the 27th, and then I'll let you take care of KitCom.
I was going to ask, how does you don't have to pull the exact number, but in general, how's the Affordable Housing Fund holding up with the awards we've issued? Are we going to have to wait a little and let it?
Yeah, we're going to have to wait a little bit.
But do you have a sense of how long that is?
Probably about a year.
A year, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
DDAC continues to work on their strategic plan. Just as an FYI, it's sort of peripheral to the city. I will not renew my position on the board with the Kittitas County Health Network. It's conflicting with another board that I'm on. So they're going to be looking for somebody to fill it. I recommended some public health perspective, but if the council member wanted to be on it, they would probably not turn you down. And KICOM, we continue to make incremental progress, and we're still probably a year out from full staffing. We're going to go into executive session pursuant to RCW 4231.10.1I. 15 minutes. We're going to start at 35. And we'll come out at 50, and we do not anticipate any action.
It is Josh. I will call you. Did he hear that?
Oh,
Yep, you'll call.
I'm going to be there with bells on. I'm going to clap.
Oh, yeah, oh, I forgot, I guess I could mute this too. If I mute this, will it shut everything down, shut it off? Never mind then.
You people to adjourn. We're adjourned.
We need 4.
No, we need 3 because we don't have,
There's
we only have 5 minutes.
Now we're
as
good
our-
anyway.
Are you adjourned?
Thank you.